73-0 in a championship game, not a scrimmage, not a preseason blowout. The NFL championship, 73-0. The Chicago Bears scored 11 touchdowns against the Washington Redskins and shut them out completely. That happened in 1940, 85 years ago, and it will never, ever happen again. Not because teams are not good enough, but because the modern NFL has evolved in ways that make certain records mathematically, strategically, and practically impossible to break. Some records stand because the game has changed. Others stand because the rules have changed. And some stand because one player did something so absurd, so far beyond what anyone else has ever done, that even the greatest players in history have not come close. This is not a list of impressive statistics. This is a list of records that have become frozen in time, untouchable, unreachable, records that represent a version of football that no longer exists. And the number one record on this list is so insane, so incomprehensible, that even if a team tried to run up the score in today's NFL, they could not do it, because mercy rules do not exist, but human decency does. These are the top 10 records that will never be broken in NFL history. Subscribe if you want content that goes deeper than the highlights. We start at number 10 with a record that sounds achievable until you understand how the modern NFL operates. 7 sacks in one game by one player. Derrick Thomas, linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs, recorded 7 sacks against the Seattle Seahawks on November 11, 1990. 7 times in one afternoon, Thomas got to quarterback Dave Krieg and took him down. It was a performance so dominant that it has never been matched in over 3 decades. The NFL record for sacks in a game is 7.5, held by Thomas's teammate Derrick Thomas, but no one since has reached 7. Why? Because football has changed. In 1990, quarterbacks held the ball longer. Offensive schemes relied on deeper dropbacks and longer developing routes. Defenses could pin their ears back and rush. Today, the game is built on quick passing. Quarterbacks are releasing the ball in under 2.5 seconds on most plays. Slants, screens, RPOs. The ball is out before a pass rusher can even reach the quarterback. Offenses use running backs and tight ends as chip blockers, specifically to slow down elite edge rushers. And if one defender is getting too much pressure, the entire game plan adjusts. Slide protections, max protect, quick game. 7 sacks in one game would require a quarterback to hold the ball long enough to get sacked 7 times, and an offensive line to fail 7 times, and a coaching staff to refuse to adjust. That does not happen in the modern NFL. Derrick Thomas's record is untouchable. Number 9, 14 interceptions in one season. Not Train Lane did it in 1952 as a rookie with the Los Angeles Rams. And here's the part that makes it even more impossible. He did it in 12 games. Not 16, not 17, 12. That means Lane averaged more than 1 interception per game for an entire 17-game season, and then add 1 more in the playoffs just to tie. It is not happening. Why? Because quarterbacks do not throw interceptions like they used to. In 1952, defenses were allowed to be far more physical with receivers. Defensive backs could mug receivers all the way down the field. There were no rules protecting quarterbacks or receivers the way there are today. Quarterbacks threw the ball into tighter windows, they took more risks, and interceptions were far more common. In the modern NFL, the league has legislated defense out of the game. Defensive backs cannot touch receivers past 5 yards. Quarterbacks are protected by rules that penalize any contact to the head or below the knees, and passing offenses are so efficient, so well designed that interceptions have become rare. The league leader in interceptions in most modern seasons finishes with 6 or 7. Not Train Lane had 14 in 12 games. That record will stand forever. Number 8, 347 wins. As a head coach, Don Shula compiled that total over 33 seasons with the Baltimore Colts and Miami Dolphins. He won 2 Super Bowls. He coached the only undefeated team in NFL history, and he won more games than any coach who has ever walked an NFL sideline. To break this record, a modern coach would need to average 11 wins per season for over 30 years. 11 wins every single year for 3 decades. It is not happening. Why? Because modern NFL coaches are fired after 2 or 3 bad seasons, sometimes after 1. General managers and owners have no patience. If a coach goes 8-8 for 2 consecutive years, he is gone. The job security that allowed Don Shula to coach for 33 seasons does not exist anymore. Bill Belichick, who coached for 24 seasons with the New England Patriots and won 6 Super Bowls, finished his career with 333 total wins, including playoffs. He's the closest anyone has come in the modern era, and even he fell short. Don Shula's record is safe because coaching tenures no longer last long enough to accumulate that many wins. The game has changed. Coaches are disposable. And 347 wins is a number that belongs to a different era.
Number 7, 297 consecutive starts. Brett Favre started every single game for the Green Bay Packers, New York Jets, and Minnesota Vikings from September 27, 1992 to December 5, 2010. 18 years, 297 straight games. No missed games due to injury, no rest weeks, no load management. Favre played through broken bones, concussions, sprained ankles, and countless hits that would have sent modern quarterbacks to injured reserve. Why will this record never be broken? Because the NFL has completely changed how it handles player health. Concussion protocols did not exist in the 90s. If a player got his bell rung, he went back in the game. Today, if a quarterback shows any sign of a concussion, he is pulled immediately and must go through a multi-day protocol before returning. Load management is now common. Teams rest starters in Week 18 if playoff seeding is locked. Backup quarterbacks get playing time to keep them ready. The idea of a quarterback playing every single snap of every single game for 18 consecutive years is incomprehensible in the modern NFL. Favre's record is untouchable not because players are not tough enough, but because the league will not allow it.
Number 6, 31 touchdowns in one season. LaDainian Tomlinson scored 28 rushing touchdowns and 3 receiving touchdowns for the San Diego Chargers in 2006. It is the single-season record for total touchdowns, and it has stood for nearly 2 decades. Why will it never be broken? Because the modern NFL does not use one player the way the Chargers use Tomlinson. In 2006, Tomlinson's the focal point of the entire offense. He got the ball in the red zone. He got goal line carries. He was the unquestioned leader in touches and opportunities. Today, offenses spread the ball around. Running back by committee is the standard. Teams use multiple backs to keep everyone fresh. Christian McCaffrey led the league in total touchdowns in 2023 with 21. That is 10 fewer than Tomlinson. The gap is massive, and it exists because no team gives one player the volume of touches required to score 31 times. 31 touchdowns would require a running back to score nearly 2 touchdowns per game for an entire season. It is not happening. Tomlinson's record is safe.
Number 5. 81 career interceptions. Paul Krause recorded that total over 16 seasons with the Washington football team and Minnesota Vikings from 1964 to 1979. 81! No defensive back in the modern era has come close. Why? Because quarterbacks do not throw interceptions like they used to. In the 60s and 70s, interceptions were part of the game. Quarterbacks took risks, defensive backs were allowed to be physical, and turnovers were common. In the modern NFL, quarterbacks are too smart and too protected. The rules favor offenses. Passing attacks are too efficient. The league leader in interceptions in most modern seasons finishes with 6 or 7, sometimes 8. To break Paul Krause's record, a defensive back would need to average 5 interceptions per season for 16 years. 5 per year for 16 consecutive seasons. No modern player has averaged that over even a 5-year stretch. The game has changed, and Paul Krause's record is untouchable.
Number 4, 18,355 career rushing yards. Emmitt Smith rushed for that total over 15 seasons with the Dallas Cowboys and Arizona Cardinals from 1990 to 2004. He is the all-time leading rusher in NFL history, and that record will never be broken. Why? Because the workhorse running back has disappeared from the NFL. In the 90s and early 2000s, elite running backs carried the ball 25 to 30 times per game. They were the centerpiece of the offense. Teams rode them until their bodies broke down. Emmitt Smith carried the ball over 4,000 times in his career. 4,000! Today, running backs are part of a committee. Teams split carries between multiple players to keep everyone healthy. Elite backs get 15 to 18 touches per game, not 30. And their careers are shorter because the position is so punishing. To break Emmitt Smith's record, a running back would need to rush for over 1,200 yards per season for 15 consecutive seasons. That would require elite health, elite production, and a team willing to give one player that volume of carries. None of those things exist in the modern NFL. Derrick Henry is the closest active player, and he is not even halfway to Smith's total. The record is safe.
Number 3, 7 Super Bowl championships. Tom Brady won 7 rings over a 23-year career with the New England Patriots and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 7! No other quarterback has more than 4. No player at any position has more than 6, and no one will ever catch him. Why? Because winning 7 Super Bowls requires everything to go right for over 2 decades. It requires elite quarterback play, elite coaching, elite teammates, elite health, and an enormous amount of luck. Brady played in 10 Super Bowls and won 7 of them. 10! He reached the championship game in nearly half of his seasons. That level of sustained excellence combined with the good fortune to stay healthy and play for great organizations is unrepeatable. Patrick Mahomes has won 3 Super Bowls in his first 7 seasons as a starter. He would need to win 4 more just to tie Brady, and he would need to stay healthy, stay elite, and keep his team competitive for another decade or more. It is not happening. Tom Brady's 7 rings are the single greatest individual achievement in team sports history, and that record will never be broken.
Number 2, 22,895 career receiving yards. Jerry Rice caught passes for that total over 20 seasons with the San Francisco 49ers, Oakland Raiders, and Seattle Seahawks from 1985 to 2004. It is the most untouchable statistical record in football. To break it, a receiver would need to average over 1,300 receiving yards per season for 17 consecutive seasons. 17 seasons of elite production without significant decline. No receiver has ever done that, not even close. The second-place player on the all-time receiving yards list is Larry Fitzgerald with 17,492 yards. Rice has over 5,000 more yards than the second-place player. 5,000! That is multiple elite seasons worth of production separating him from everyone else. Modern receivers do not last long enough to challenge this record. The position is too physically demanding. Injuries pile up, production declines, and teams move on. Jerry Rice played at an elite level into his 40s. No modern receiver will do that. The game is too fast, the hits are too violent, and the record is too far out of reach. Rice's 22,895 receiving yards will stand forever.
Number 1, 73-0. The Chicago Bears defeated the Washington Redskins 73-0 in the 1940 NFL championship game. 73-0 in the championship.
The Bears scored 11 touchdowns. They intercepted 8 passes. They recovered 3 fumbles, and they shut out Washington completely. It was the most dominant performance in the history of professional football, and it will never happen again. Why? Because the modern NFL has parity. Salary caps ensure that no team can hoard all the talent. Free agency allows players to move between teams. The draft system gives the worst teams the best picks, keeping competitive balance, and even if a team somehow built a roster so dominant that it could score 73 points in a game, the opponent would not be shut out. Modern offenses are too good. Quarterbacks are too talented, and the rules favor scoring. Field goals alone would prevent a shutout in a modern championship game. The 73-0 final score represents a version of football that no longer exists, a time when rosters were wildly imbalanced, when rules allowed for physical domination, when one team could be so much better than another that a 73-point margin was possible. That NFL is gone, and so is the possibility of ever seeing a score like this again. The Chicago Bears' 73-0 victory is not just the most untouchable record in NFL history, it is the most untouchable record in professional sports. 10 records, 10 achievements that belong to a different era of football. Some will never be broken because the game has changed. Others will never be broken because the rules have changed. And some will never be broken because one player did something so extraordinary that even the greatest to ever play have not come close. Which record do you think is the most untouchable? Drop a comment. And if this breakdown gave you a new perspective on NFL history, subscribe.